So this is Kla Kat, the Kla Katster. We're, well, less than 24 hours, 18 hours, 20 hours away from Super Toy Show and Fair on March 30th at Kla Kat. You'll probably see this when the fair story airs. Yes, Kla Kat and Jimticon. We're going to be there. Yeah. In addition to doing the Starship Locations story guide to the storybooks that are legit, which has no relevance on the online site, another thing that has no relevance on the online site, but might interest you trans fans, is that we have rediscovered old disc information and stuff from our Trans Tech Mush blog, TF 2005. And all toys, Transformers, and all that other stuff that was saved on an earlier disk drive, on a disk. Hundreds of files, some of which are fan fiction, Transformers fan fiction. Some of which would make up roughly a good season of Space Bridge. So 1995, a good season of it. As was indicated before, we had to get certain semi-gray area legal things out of the way first before announcing that. It turns out that all of those stories that are out there, they do not have a current website. It's down. None of these names are famous anymore. They have disappeared into obscurity. So, and these episode plots and stories have also disappeared into obscurity. So because they have, no one is making a current published trans book. They never made, many of these authors never made a Transformers book. And, yeah, so we can use them. Sure. But they would have to be under certain byline legal laws, if they found out that there was a version of one of their stories. So what we would have to do if we used any of these stories and said, oh, this is a really good dialogue scene here, we want to use this scene based on a premise by, is legally binding. So we could have a Kla Kat Marks Cards written story under a pseudonym, and then under the pseudonym where the story was based on, that we got it from that person's byline. Of course, to get around Hasbro's legal department and Robotech legal department as well, Mahoney Golds, we cannot make a profit, which means that any of you that find your premise online with a name on it saying your premise, we can't pay you, and we will not rip it off. We will give you credit, but we can't pay you. Just credit. You'll be famous. So your parody will be out there. We will see which ones actually go out there. Actually, I was reviewing some of the stuff that we did as well. Transtech, Transformers meets Robotech from the 2002 and 2014 releases online, and there's a lot of that already in there. Basically, the Transtech 24 episode series. It was 3 miniseries. We had the first one. We had Dark Metal Aftermath. It's a sequel. We had Metal Shot Doomsday, Dark Metal Aftermath, and Dark Catharsis. This was a 2003 story originally, a 2009 story, a 2007 to 9 story, and then 7 to 9. Again, the 2 sequels were written back to back around 2005, 2006, after the mush crashed. We did not have access to that anymore. Fortunately, the Kla Kat site saved the HTMLs of all of that on an old disk that we were able to find from 2003. And that disk contained all 100-some stories that were in there from the drive. So with the names and who they were and where they were, any attempt to repost those HTMLs would probably cook whatever site was trying to install it. So they'd have to be drastically rewritten to even fit on an archive. At some point, the best ones may go up on an archive, but it will say where the archive came from, their bylines and everything else, and that it's not going to make any AdSense. We can't make any profit on someone's Transformer parodies. We can't do that. So we can't pay them either. So we're not stealing the ideas. We're just saying that we might, if we use a concept, it'll be premised by. Yeah. So sure. There is one character that still has his own archive up, and it would be hairy to use him, but we got everybody else. So Rob Powers, it would be hairy to use him because his archive still exists somewhere on the internet. It would be kind of strange. But the other ones, they had made up names and things like that. And basically parts of Trans Tech are from that guy anyway, and the other people. We didn't know them personally at all when the early Kla Kat posted on there, and Atomicon and all that other stuff. They didn't know that it was Kla Kat, and he didn't reveal that it was Kla Kat. A lot of the early Kla Kat stories are very obviously influenced by him and cross-pollinated by him. So, there was one of the websites was run by a university back then, and another one was too. That's how the internet worked back then. Colleges would have a server. They would run the server, and people would post their bulletin boards on these active groups, sort of like early chat rooms, and they would post their short stories and chapters and things. This is like the 1990s, basically, the early 90s, and that's why a lot of the stories were short and clippy, because they had to put it together and then over time, so there'd be like these weird chapters. Some people would completely forget the middle of chapters. There's at least a dozen writers or more, but the fact that some of those were long since lost, even on the website, we can't get to those, and probably wouldn't use those unless there was some character's idea or something that was like, oh well, why not? It's not that the Kla Kat, the on Starship Locations banner couldn't think of its own stuff. it's that it's probably easier to rifle through other people's stuff as a premise and say like, well, this is kind of like something we would have done. So we'll see what that. This is for the Transformers thing. What that's like. We had an online store. To bring that back up soon. Keep saying soon. It's been a year. It isn't back yet. There was also a character named Transcarta with a K. Also a one that was on there. It was us. So there's also, these are clean stories. They're, for the most part, they're G to PG. They're not the slash fiction. We cannot post the slash fiction. But in terms of DCMA compliant video stories made from these teleplay premise short stories, you'd have to change them substantially to make them scripts anyway. So, but it's cool to bring some of them back, including some of Kla Kat's classics. That's kind of what we started with, and the end of the circle as well. So it's not like we haven't done something like that. We took the Jack McKinney story, the Endless Circle, which was a Robotech story from 1987, and boiled it down to a 65-minute episode script, and then rewrote it as in the vein of Trans Tech in 2015, and filmed it as a 65-minute movie as the end of the circle. We had to change the name of it to the Endless Circle. And I gave credit to Jack McKinney, who is a pseudonym, incidentally. It's not a real. There's two guys, one living, one dead, that wrote that book series for Robotech. We did not get any bad feedback about that. In fact, it was a good idea. We essentially did the Shadow Force story that the Shadow Chronicles never did. We said, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to have. And we put it together so that it was in such a way that you did not necessarily need to watch Trans Tech to get what was going on, because it kind of summarized what had happened in the first few minutes by having a slightly different SDF-3 on its way home, and having that happen and having the Jetfire be another Jetfire that they revived, it worked perfectly well. You didn't need to watch. You should watch Transtech first. It's awesome, but you didn't have to watch the last 2 episodes of Transtech. And that was the problem with Shadow Chronicle, in that. And Love Live Alive was a mess, but Shadow Chronicle, they promised the SDF3 coming home in the trailers, and trailers always lie, and they didn't. Transtech sought to do that very thing, to bring the SDF3 home. The end of Transtech, they do bring the SDF3 home. The SDF3 falls into an anomaly, a black hole, wormhole, and ends up in the Transformers universe. Many of these trans fans on that mush thought of that same idea, including a famous one on there. Well, not really famous. No, it wasn't. Famous on that website. Generation 2 one that did the same thing. It was very similar to that story. So that was done as a story already. We've already gone there. We've done that. Yeah, so the Endless Circle was sort of a sequel, but follow-up to that, also to the Shadow Chronicles. You didn't really have to see the Shadow Chronicles either, because I basically said, well, okay, everything you remember from Robotech and Love Live Alive, well, don't worry about it. We'll throw in a few lines of dialogue that explain, all right, here's what happened right after the invasion. That's all you need to know. Neutron S missiles. The guy gets in trouble for having the Neutron S missiles in the story, and Rick Hunter throws him in the brig, because he would. And Lancer admits that he made up all that stuff, and Serum admits she made up stuff that was at the end of Love Live Alive that wasn't true, including implying that she was pregnant, but she's a space alien. Why would she be that stupid? Don't do that. Never introduce a space baby. That's really stupid. Yes, so, yeah, she lied, and that didn't happen, and just, yeah, quickly forgotten. We'll go on to the story, but it's in there as a joke. In the revised, the revised version that has 22 minutes extra footage, that was done for the movie version, the 90-minute online movie version special, 2 or 3 months later, includes the part about the lies and stuff. That wasn't in the 65-minute version. It's in the 90-minute version. There's a little more of the space battle, too. We fixed the space battle so you could tell what's going on. The preferred version is the 90-minute version of that. And then we went on to doing the Bioship saga, which was also inspired by some of these early stories, of which we had fragments of at that point. We didn't have that old file that we just discovered. This was 2015 and 2016. And from the fragments, we were able to recover the Battle of the Alicom and decided, you know what, let's just redo part of the Alicom element. And interestingly enough, the way it was structured, we used one of the Transformers that looked very much like the Mush character, and we're like, well, actually, what we can do here is because we can't show you the original trans stories that we put up because we put copyrighted music in them, just all over the place, and we didn't want to bother redoing that. It was bad enough having to redo the Beasties Mousetrap project from 1999 to put on YouTube and dub out all of the music and redo the dialogue there was a screenplay, so we were able to use the script. Here we don't have that luxury, so I said I'll just do a sort of sequel to Battle of the Alicom, in which they're on a spaceship. They discover the bioship from the end of the Robotech story, and it ties in nicely. It's a Transformer story. Wrote myself into a corner though, because you couldn't just have Hadon come back, the main bad guy, and not explain what's going on, and then Mark's cards just discovered, well, what about dimensional travel and that kind of thing, and what about Hadon if he goes to the Transformers world, like at the end of the other story, what if he's powerful in the Robotech universe, but what happens if in the Transformer universe he's as powerful as a Transformer, not as a demigod? That's an awesome idea. Okay, so we went with it. We said, okay, he's got demigod powers. He can switch from body to body. He can do like Starscream with his spark, basically. But that's all that he can. He can't destroy the ship or time warps or whatever. You can actually trap him because he's basically a Transformer when he's in a Transformer body. I was like, okay, that works. But also that effect worked for Sira to return as well as the Bioship to return. That also made them trans-dimensional robot beings. They could do stuff. So they show up, leaving the opportunity for Alicom, the ancient robot warrior chick, to return in this story. So this is a sequel to a story you've never seen. So we had to do it. So I just I redid it so in such a way that you didn't need to see Battle of the Alicom. You could just say, okay, this is Alicom, and I'll just reintroduce myself. And like there's a line of dialogue where she says, okay, I'm Alicom. When I come from this other dimension, I was Alison Strawberg once, and I'm just I'm a being from another dimension, whatever. Yes, that's all you need to know, and I'm here. Turns out it was actually, at the end of the story, a cheat, because, that one was, at first, a 45-minute episode, and then we did two more, did another 45-minute episode. That was a cheat in there, because we basically said at the end that it wasn't really Alicom, it was one of the Invid girls. It was Sarah's sister, Ariel, playing her, which... okay, yeah, so you really don't need to see the original, because it was just Ariel the whole time. Okay, that works. It wasn't really her. It was a trick. Yeah, it was a twist. But it was funny to see, the Invid God guy get shafted by Megatron. I'll stick this into you, and then blast him. But yes, so, yeah, it was fine. So I did another 45-minute sequel to that story, which I tried to wrap up everything and had them go to the grave of the Scorponok and all that. And I essentially did, in that one, the reunion of the cities. I had them find the remains of Scorponok, reanimate it, and then had the two fortresses fight each other. So I pretty much caught everyone up with the original trans in the Bioship mystery. As sort of a sequel, but reimagining. Sort of like a reimagining. I also had some fun poking fun at some Zack Snyder movies. Obviously, Batman v Superman, by having the two Titan robot cities fighting each other, and then their impetus at the end, what makes them stop fighting. The thing that makes them stop fighting is Martha. The mother is named Martha, and the robot is perplexed, and he goes, "Okay, I'll stop fighting you." I was like, "Well, all right," but that's very much the original trans. We would have done that joke, even if it hadn't been in a Snyder movie. But yes, so bringing it back. So Space Bridge was the pilot. Well, Endless Circle was the pilot. Space Bridge was the second pilot, and they've greenlit it. So yeah, we have to have stories, and there's these stories there. So yes, and Star Trek Chimera is back in early production, but set design mainly stuff, planet sets and stuff. But yeah, that's generally first, just because it's further along. And yeah, hopefully this year, but we said that last year, but hopefully this year, we will see the Star Trek Chimera thing and the recent Star Trek Discovery show. Apparently, I haven't seen it, but apparently the buzz about it is that it's just okay, which is not acceptable. Ours is better. No, our fan film is better than your movie. There was a Trek Yards interview with Mignona, the guy from Star Trek Continues, going on about fan films some of them being atrocious, and fan stories, some of those are atrocious. Same idea. So there's a difference between actors and non-actors. He was being a little pretentious, but so are many of them. And I've gone on a lot about Star Trek fan films and fan stories. Part of the reason why there's 100 of those stories is that maybe a dozen of them are good. There's 100 stories, and there was we did a Transformers magazine in honor of that. Fallen Transalt's Toys Mush in 2003, because there was a magazine. There's a Transtech Transformers Meets Robotech magazine long before there was a movie. The movie was in production, so we launched the magazine and put some of those stories in it, including some of the longer ones. It was never widely published. It was only online. It was taken down at some point, I think around 2012, when they released the movies. They had take them down because they didn't want confusion, brand confusion, I guess. We can't put the bigger ones back up. That would be, well, very hard to read, for one thing, because we're amateurs. But also, the idea that a fan film isn't... it's a Transformers fan film, and the idea of fans doing a fan story, it's for the fans. So yeah, it doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, the stranger and more quirky, the better. Bioship Mystery being inspired of some of those. I was looking back at some of those, going, wait a minute, that's very, very similar to some of those. And Mignogna and his friends going on saying we're actors was funny because you're still amateur actors, dude. Come on. Okay, you had theater and stuff. You're still you're acceptable. Your fan films are headcanon to me, as are Star Trek Phase 2. Yours is a little better. Over there it continues. But you're still not SAG actors, so yeah, neither am I. Granted, I'm not at all. But it's sort of like when our cousin series over there was doing Star Trek Excalibur over there. Well, cousin or friend of, or not related. Others, we were racing to production. Well, not racing. We were both in production at the same time with this other Star Trek fan series called Excalibur. Kreisman. His fell through. Ours is still like trugging along, going like, oh, get it out eventually. But the thing is that Brian, the only actor, a former SAG actor, he pointed out that at least ours, now they released some Excalibur footage, but only some, a little trailer. Ours, Chimera, is completely different because it's action figures, and like we did with the Transtech, and it's proof of concept, because you can go on the rest of the channel and see the other channel and see the Transtech stuff, but you can also look at the Chimera stuff, where these amateur actors from Milpitas, they did Kla Kat marks cards. They put together this love letter to the fan, a true love letter to the Star Trek fans, starting in 2012, and they were putting it together, and that was us. And we're like, we're going to put up the footage we shot of the Classic Enterprise holodeck scene, and later on there's a holodeck scene, and kind of like a holodeck planet, where they go on to a Q sort of genie scene. Q makes an Aladdin set so he can trick Riker. There's another one where Q visits Picard. That was another love letter to the fans in 2014 or so, I think. Robin Williams died in 2015, so I think that other one is 2015. But, so that halted production for a while. He wasn't in it, but we were doing a character kind of like him. If we had an actor in there, I think we would have talked about it. No, we didn't. But yeah, we're amateurs too. We're not going to say we're the best. Our pretentious video is better than yours, ma. But we do have writing background from school, so sure. I don't have an IMDb page dedicated to Benjamin Brown, but I do have some novels. But I find that writing fan fiction is easier because you don't need to follow the rules at all, really, if you don't want to. And also, the proof of concept was there on Chimera, and back to the fan film Transformer thing. This is kind of long. This is kind of an update for the toy show, I guess. Or whatever this is. So the stories, the fan stories, you have. You've got proof of concept. The Transformer story is proof of concept. You have, sure, go for it. You have we have, since the 1990s, since the end of Beast Wars and Beast Machines and all that, we'd had other shows come out of Transformers. We had the Armada, Energon Cybertron series, which was loved or hated depending on how you did it. It was Japanese and redubbed into American. The Unicron trilogy, the Micron War, that kind of thing. added us mini-cons to that. Not loved or hated. Tim didn't particularly like it. Jim thought it was okay. That kind of thing. And then there was Transformers Animated, and of course the Michael Bay movies, which started 10 years ago in 2007, 11 years ago in 2007. And there is an upcoming Bumblebee movie, which will be the 6th one, which is a flashback to the 80s coming out. I'm not in it. That'd be cool, but no, I'm not in it. Where some other director has taken over for Michael Bay's idea and said, you know what, let's just do a story that's about the robot for a change, which is what they should have done to begin with. So he's along the same lines, that guy that wrote that. Thinking on the same lines. Maybe it's one of those fans. So, anyway, I'm not sure where Charlie Watson is the main character fits into that somewhere. Is she I don't think she's related to Spike at all. Yeah. But the Transformers continuity is vast, though. It's a multiverse at this point. We've got Transformers Animated, that came out in 2010. A lot of people really didn't like that one. It was very strange. There was Transformers Prime, though, was fairly spot on. There were several other Japanese spin-offs through the 80s and 90s and 2000s. I've already gone over all of those. I have them. They're interesting, but they're kind of hard to watch. The Victory, especially. But like Finn stories, they're hard to look at. They're just. And then this new one, there was a Robots in Disguise 2001, which was actually stymied by various world events that happened around 9/11 that where they were censoring everything and they cut out parts of it. The Japanese one I have that too. It's not better. It's not worse. It's just sort of, even with the stuff that they cut out, put back, it still is, oh well. Predacons meet the Transformers. Oof. Yeah, that's basically it. But then they go into this new one that came out 2 years ago and a year and a half ago, Transformers, the Pact, pretty much. Well, apparently they read some of my stuff, and it's really obviously my stuff. And there's a guy with the initials AB in there. It's not me though. They read the mush. They read that other stuff. They made that into a cartoon. Okay, cool. In Japan, and then they redubbed it here in American. Redubbed it with the actors. It's weak because it's not the story from the mush. It's not the story from the news groups. It's trying to be, but it clearly isn't a spin-off of Transformers Prime. It's the Bumblebee series, and this new Bumblebee movie kind of vaguely ties into that, but not really. Don't worry about it. It's kind of its own continuity. So yeah, multiverse. You can do anything you want. So some of these fan film people were arguing on their later boards, the Lexicon and some of the other ones, how can you just cross over with universes and everything? Well, you totally can. Totally can cross over with the universes because you have the space bridge. You have the space bridge, you have the multiverse, you have wormholes. They've established that in the show. It's totally a multiverse. It's a bigger multiverse than the Marvel universe and the DC universe. It's just spread out all over the place. So you could totally have a Transtech Space Bridge series and have an episode where some Beast Wars guys and some Transformers are hanging out for half an hour. That totally would happen because they have a space bridge. They basically have a Stargate. They can basically say, hey, look, there's Waspinator and he's hanging out with Optimus Prime. It would be weird, but hey, that would be interesting and different. And that's the key to a good fanfic, is you have to have a hook. There are some of these that have a good hook. Like when there's one where it opens with it's saying Springer was the first one to discover the body lying on the ground. It's like, okay, that's cool. It's like, okay, well, which robot is dead there? Who is that? Why is there a dead body out in front of Metroplex? The red robot, blah. That's a mystery. There you go. Or like, this robot was smitten for this other robot, and now he's gone. There's your hook. Okay, we'll go from there. Yeah, so something like that. They don't have to be. They can be as simple as the original show, and that's what's cool about it. So not only it's taken. We were going to start again in 2017 and make more stuff, but we didn't have an idea or a proof of concept yet. Now we have one. Not to borrow liberally from the Mush stories, but rather a proof of concept of the Space Bridge universe, multiverse, and how it would work. But it's still our own initial stories that we thought of. We had the Combiner Wars thrown in there. Combiner Wars was based on the games and the comic books, more so than it was. And I haven't read all the comic books. I've only read summaries of them. They've gone on a tangent on their own universe. They even did a version of Till All Are One. That's awesome. I think that's flattering that you did that. Yeah, that's cool. Your version was considerably different than mine. Me and Tim and Jim's version. But it's just as well you didn't make mine and Tim and Jim's version, because I just read it. And it wouldn't have made a good movie at all. Even the original trans stories. Like, what was I doing? Oof. Yeah, it's a good thing you changed that for the comic book. Because the IDW version is, don't use that version. Just use the name that we stole from Transformers the movie. It's like the Till All Are One, Till All Are One. Yeah, but yeah, reunion of the factions and that kind of thing. Some of our stuff. But yeah, so proof of concept. Space Bridge was our proof of concept, and the studios completely greenlit it and said, go for it. Give us some scripts and we'll film them. So wow, okay. We have a whole lot full of toys, so we got almost every figure from each generation. We could throw them in there. It would just be a massive undertaking. Well, it doesn't need to be, though. I'm thinking like we're not gonna make this hard. We're gonna make this fun. So we'll have an episode where maybe somebody finds a robot body or something. We could totally do that. We don't need to overexpose the whole thing. It'll just be really cool. We'll just have fun doing it. Fan film thing, and you can get your byline. And so okay. And you can get your byline. Yeah, I can't get paid though, so we can't pay you. So yeah, that's my rant update. I guess this is an update video. I guess this would go on channel 1 because it's not about really anything other than we have some story ideas. Channel 1. Wouldn't be on 2. Wouldn't be on Chimera. But yeah, the idea of doing that is going to work, I think. They're sure. And the Carta, there was going to be a Carta thing. It's already 2018. Actually, that ties in nicely and neatly because all these demigods and things and invids and things sneaking around. And there was an invid leader guy. So actually, in the old trans universe, when the invid was crucified, he was actually Hadon. So he's there the whole time. Also, the evil Strawberg is just an anagram of he's the guy that was more evil than Evil Edwards from Robotech. So he killed him, along with all of the other company people from the Simultech. And they were among them in the crowd, and he executed them. So yeah, the Robotech people were actually there. We just didn't see them. The Decepticons killed them off camera. So yes, so it totally ties into that universe. And of course we went to the Bioship Bridge thing, went to the year 2016 and stepped into the future in that story because it was 2016. And we meet up with 2016 regular Bayverse and / Primeverse. Primeverse. We meet up with Primeverse, Rick Hunter, who is in G.I. Joe, but he's not a Robotech guy because the Civil War of Robotech never happened in the Primeverse. That totally works. He was played by Mutt, so. Um, but Junkyard and Mutt. Yeah, Junkyard was the dog though, and Mutt was the guy. Mutt was the GI Joe. That was the joke. That he was the Mutt, and the dog was Junkyard. But yes, he was Rick Hunter. But in the show, he's space shot as the older Rick Hunter. Anyway, so yeah, and we would release the Planet Calm, except that has music in it too, so we can't. Sorry, yeah, so we can't put a lot of those early fan stories online anymore. But but with the new technologies nowadays, we can totally reenact some of that as like teleplays and put them on, so you get to see them. And it'll be really awesome to get to see them because it'll actually be video scripts, and you'll be like, wow. You animated that. That's cool. Yeah. Wow. You give me credit, and yet it doesn't count because I can't get paid. That's right. Can't get paid. But yeah, I wonder if half those people are even still around. But anyways, so yeah, that's this long diatribe. Yeah. So cool. Space Bridge is greenlit. Over there at Starship Locations. Of course, the studio is just me and Mark's cards. So, yeah. That's not getting paid either. Out of our own pocket, go with the script, go, here, film this for no money at all. We throw a piece of candy at the camera. Somebody films it. It's so low budget, it's amazing. Yeah.